Start the record.
So, Franklin, do we have a theme for tonight at all?
Nope. Whatever you want to do. It's up to you, Pat.
Not up to me. Hey, you know that the McCrackens are going to have one final estate sale Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That would be July 30th, 31st, and August 1st. So prices keep getting cheaper on Saturday and then cheaper yet on Sunday. So might be interesting to see what they're going to hold out price wise.
When do they get down to free? He's going down and down. Last time I was there, it was like 30% off. And
I don't know. I think the story I hear is that whatever they don't sell by August 1st, then we might get a donation from them.
very nice. Well, you and others have certainly seen to it that it was well supported by the club. I've been twice. In fact, I see some of their stuff. I see a lot of their stuff out here on the floor. How about that?
Well, if we get a large donation from them, I'm thinking what we should do is have it in October. Because we've got the October swap meet in Aurora, but we don't have any usage of the Grange in October. So we could just take one of the days in October and secure it for some kind of an auction.
Oh, that'd be fun. Oh man, I got 4 drawers and 1 cupboard to go through yet. Pat, are you going to come over and grace my garage with a visit tonight? I think John is coming this way.
He wants me to meet him there at 8, so I'm going to, at 7:30, I'm gonna end the meeting for me and then head over that way.
Really? I've seen you get here in 12 minutes. Why are you leaving at 7:30?
Oh, I don't know.
Or did you get rid of that car?
That car is parked currently because there wasn't much use for it during, COVID. That couldn't do anything. So that car is parked. Although I'm working on it now. I got I washed it and I, put some protectant on the tires, and then I'm gonna adjust the timing, and then I should be ready to roll.
Did you get any grease on your hands?
No, because all I have done so far is washed it. I
You're
haven't done
you're not working on it.
Oh,
You're just maintaining it. I want to see blood and grease. Hey, Mark joined us.
Yes.
Tell us about it. Pat, what kind of car is it?
it's a 1986 Pontiac Fiero
With
a 4.9 liter V8 in it.
Wow.
Ooh.
Like Cadillac V8?
Yep.
So it's a front wheel drive put in there, huh?
no, I think it's real.
Cadillac transmission, that's you?
No, it's got the 5-speed Subaru in it.
Oh, really? A Subaru transmission, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's who made it. But no, it was stock for Fiero that year.
Oh, really?
I had a buddy, my one and only Fiero story is I had a friend that had a Porsche 914 and he was in a accident, which of course is not good when you're in a 914 or a little car like that. And I remember when his wife went over to get the stuff out of his car, all of the folks came out of the office to pay their respects and share the condolences with her. And she's like, I realize what the car looks like, but she says, he's alive. He's full of titanium pins now, but he's going to be okay. And we were a pretty tight group at the training center where he worked. And so we were making bets on, what kind of car he was going to buy to replace it. And we had things like Ford LTDs and Plymouth Furies and, big cars. And after about, it was probably 16 weeks, I think, before he got back to work. And he rolls up in one of the 6-cylinder Fieros, and we all like to died. It's like, holy macro, you almost lose your life in a 914 and you show up in a Fiero. Anyway, first time he went to have it tuned up, he changed the name of it. He started calling it his Pontiac Fiasco. But it was a cool car.
Didn't those things tend to burn up?
With their occupants in them? Yeah. I think the 4-cylinder was the one that was that had a lot of problems, but
So my neighbors here for a while had a Pontiac Solstice, which is, it's actually kind of a big little car, and there's absolutely no storage for anything in the thing.
no, my dad had a Saturn Sky, which is the same car, and he had the red line. Yep.
Yeah, we got a little Mini here. It has a mini convertible, has way more space than one of those things does, and it's a smaller car.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
My dad bought himself the not the Solstice, but the Sky for his 88th birthday, just to go have some fun in.
I guess they're a fun car to drive and stuff, but
they were. He had the turbocharged version, and I'll tell you, that thing was pretty fast. Brian, after we drove it a couple of times, wanted to come home and wanted me to upgrade my Roadster or his Roadster. It's like, no, we can't do that.
Hey, Dad, put a turbo in that baby.
Yeah, you know what? The Troutdale Nissan dealer has a factory original supercharger for this car.
Huh?
And it's really interesting the way it goes in. The only thing that's on the right-hand side of the engine is the battery. And they put the battery in the trunk, and that whole supercharger mounts on the passenger side of the engine, wrapping around the front. And it makes those cars pretty scary. It's a lot of horsepower.
So Blake, did you work on that Philco yet?
No, it is the second thing up on the bench after I complete it. So I'm guessing it'll probably be up here in about 4 or 5 days. I'm expecting another 3 or 4 to finish the bench. And then I've got a car radio up here that belongs to a customer of Ray Allen, who he's injured himself and asked me to finish it. And right after that comes the Philco, and then the other 30 items or so that are behind that.
Ray is okay, though.
What's that?
Ray is okay.
Ray is fine. He's uncomfortable. He was in the hospital, I think, for 3 or 4 days, but no broken bones. He's just, at 88, you take a header into the bathroom and bounce off the tub and the walls a few times.
Ooh, ouch. Yeah.
You're sore. But anyway, I've got his Chevy. It's a 51 Chevrolet pickup truck radio, and it came to me in nearly kit form.
Oh, geez.
Owner's in Illinois, and he calls me about every 3 or 4 days. Nice fella, but we're getting to it.
Does anyone else repair car radios? Because that's one of the things that the Veterans of the Road car show, they are asking for radio repair people for their car radios.
Crickets.
Okay,
A lot of those want something that looks original, but it's got AM, FM, and whatever. Wi-Fi.
I typically will offer to put a Wi-Fi connection in them or a cable. They can beam their cell phones to it. They make chips and things that you can put in them, but I found that most people are happy with just having get a Bluetooth card up there. They're not any bigger than a postage stamp. Get them up there near the plastic dial or the glass dial in the front, and they work fine.
Well, I can work on them, Pat, but all I do is kind of original stuff. The big problem with is the vibrators, which you can go to solid state, but some of them are actual junk. The solid state ones are terrible unless you get the good ones.
And the people that make the good ones are down to about 4 different kinds that they make. I've got about a dozen of the ones that were made by the Antique Automobiles Association. I'm a dealer for them, so I can order them at reduced cost. Happy to do so. I'll tell you, Ray is the one who has the vibrators. I think the last time I was over there, he had like 150 of the solid state ones in a cabinet. But you got to have good working mechanical ones too, because you can't bring them up on a solid state one, or I wouldn't, because any little thing that's wrong, those vibrators, the solid state ones, have about a 3.5 second life.
I thought about making them, but of course you need to at least, there's all those different pinouts. And
Yep.
then you need different ones for positive and negative ground.
Yes, and you can't get them crossed.
Yeah, I did one on a Chrysler Airflow for a friend of mine. But I just put it all under the chassis and a dummy vibrator.
Yeah, there's a company over in Britain that makes some really nice ones that work well. They sell them in kit form. I've got a really unusual one. I've got one out of a 1952 Mercedes, which uses an odd pinout, and it is a not a shunt fed, but what's the one that doesn't have to have a rectifier in it?
Synchronous.
Synchronous. Thank you. I needed a synchronous negative chassis odd pinout for this Mercedes one, and I finally ended up going to them, and the guy was nice enough to take one of their original ones and redesign it and send me the parts and show me how to hook it up. And it works really well. The guy was very, very happy with it. He spent 10 years trying to find somebody to work on it. I finally agreed to look at it with no promises, and oh boy, never again.
So they put solid state rectifiers in it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the difference between it and the synchronous one, I think, was 4 1N 4007s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
all you
I-
have to do is rectify the B plus. Yeah.
Yep.
Myron, are you gonna be at the picnic?
Haven't thought about it yet, but probably yes.
Okay, the reason why is if you're willing to at least look at some car radios, maybe I can get some like business cards from you or some info on how you want them to contact you.
Sure, but like I say, all I do is just put them back to original. So
I think that this group of people will probably want that. You saw their cars. I mean, these people are driving, none of them are hot rods or modified. They're all stock original cars.
so all I got to do is listen to Rush Limbaugh or whoever. He's not on anymore, I guess, but AM is ugly for sure.
Pat, by the way, can you get my name off the website for repair during my chemo here? I'm not up to it.
Okay, I'll make a note of that.
I thought we were getting that off of there, and I've been getting some calls.
Don't forward them to me. I'm full up.
Well, you're one of the great names there, bud.
And I know, but I've got
Yeah.
a full-time job now, and it's going to take me to mountaintops here pretty quick. And I think I've got about 25 or 30 projects that some of them been sitting here for 6 months.
I've got my sons right behind me here.
Oh, that's easy. He can't get angry with you.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. You still got the will. So I tell my kids when they get angry with me, you may be mad at me, but I still got a will.
By the way, I had to use a passcode this time, never had it before. So I had to go clear back to the 16th to get an email that had a passcode in it. Because I deleted them, So I don't know what the deal is.
Zoom is changing their security, so that's the deal. They are making it so it's more secure. So they either have to have a passcode or you have to have a waiting room. And I choose a passcode over a waiting room this time.
Oh, okay.
I like
But
to-
But
the
you
newest
haven't
one should have had
changed
the
the nu-
passcode
you-
on it that I sent, but you might have deleted that already. Been
Yep.
listening? Okay. And it's the same passcode every time. So
Yeah, evidently, because this is from the 16th.
yeah,
I guess until we have some issues and then.
yeah, exactly. I want to make it as easy as possible for people to get in. Otherwise, they'll have problems getting in. So, but then, we haven't had anybody bomb us. So
Yeah,
We'll
that's
see.
great.
I had a weird thing happen. I sold on Craigslist 3-tube television to this one young person. And they said that they were going to show up at the picnic, but this person is going to fix up and restore these old tube TVs. And I just felt I told her that you have to be extremely careful because of voltage inside a TV, a tube type TV. So I don't know. I'm hoping that we don't find a fatality here somewhere in the paper about someone trying to fix a TV, but I warned her several times not to touch anything inside unless she knew what was happening. So she's going to come to the picnic, and I don't know if any of you guys are interested in maybe helping her out or giving her some pointers.
Sonny's good at TVs. He would be a good one.
Yeah, and Dick.
Mhm.
Which Dick Howard?
Yeah,
Okay.
It'd be good to, point out some of the dangers.
Well, I just thought it was unusual because this is a very young person trying to fix tube TVs, and I don't know what, usually those youngsters are always on their phones or iPads or something. I can't imagine anyone actually wanting to fix up a TV.
They can't get hurt. They got one hand on the iPad and one hand in the TV. So
hey, that's a good point. So true.
Or that's the new rule. Always keep your hand on the iPad while your other hand's in the TV, and you can't get shocked.
I mean, I don't know how many times I've gotten shocked out of a TV. I'm still here. I've got a little scar from the kickback, but
Yeah, I still got an RF burn on my wrist from years ago.
Hmm.
Didn't hurt until I looked down and it was on fire.
yeah, I was working on 256 kilohertz horizontal rays for these really high resolution CRTs or monitors that we were developing at Tech. And anyway, I'm trying to measure a couple of volts of saturation out of 1500 volts of the flyback voltage on this transistor. Anyway, I got my thumb down there somewhere. The first thing I did was smell something burning. And then, oh shit. Well, it made a carbon trace through the skin and down to the bone. It just that took forever to actually come back to life. I mean, it just,
Oh man, mine was barely skin deep. And it took
this just dug
forever
a
to-
hole. Just a carbon trace down to the bone. And you couldn't even hear it, it's that high frequency.
You mean when it was happening, you didn't feel any pain?
No, not until you don't feel any shock, okay? And the first thing I did was smell burning flesh. And then I felt the pain from the heat, from burning made a carbon trace right down to the bone. And that hurt for a month. Not real bad, but you know, it let you know it was there, especially when you were using your thumb for something. I have told my disaster shock story, didn't I? Or almost disastrous. When I was, this would have been probably 19. I was working swing shift at Tech and going to Portland State at nights. Anyway, I was batching it out at the farm. My folks moved to Fresno and we had this farm in Battleground. And anyway, I had my shop out there, and being a young kid, why, didn't always do the right thing for bathing, but I had made a homemade pool, solar heated pool. And I'd come in about 1 o'clock and dive into the pool to clean off a little. And I went in my shop one day and I flipped the breaker up. Well, my towel had kind of fallen behind the bench. But when the breaker went on, I had a power supply upside down. It had 5 6080s in there, putting out an amp at 500 volts regulated. Anyway, I put my wet arm against the chassis, reached over, and my penis went into the 500 volts. Let me tell you,
Oh, no.
that was shocking. I had to force myself to breathe. It was incredible. That just knocked my socks off. And there I was all by myself.
Yeah.
It was a while and I finally collected my thoughts together and I shut the shop off and went upstairs and went to bed. But man, did that ever put a welt on something? And of course, a young man occasionally, yep, you know, no, keep it down, keep it down.
You said it was near Fresno?
My folks moved to Fresno.
Okay.
This was in Battleground.
That's where I got my engineering degree.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I never did move down to Fresno with them. Then they moved back up.
You know what my favorite thing to do in Fresno was?
What's that?
Leave.
Yeah,
But not go back to Bakersfield, which is where I lived at the time.
yeah. I took the first load of stuff down for my dad in the pickup and stopped by a friend of mine's house. We were in high school then. Said, hey, you want to go to Fresno? This is 11 o'clock at night. Sure. So we headed for Fresno.
It's a long drive.
It is a long drive. We got there, I don't know, 10 o'clock. I don't remember now, in the morning. And we get in the house and we have a little bit to eat before we take a nap. But the neighbor across the pool, why, she was vacuuming her house in the nude. So that got our attention. Anyway, yeah, the crazy trips you take when you're a kid, you know. I always kind of like to drive at night anyway.
I used to like to drive at night. Not so much anymore. We leave we still go down and see my dad and my brother, and my choice to drive at night is early in the morning with a large cup of coffee and
Okay.
get home before the sun goes down.
So your folks are down there, huh?
My dad's still there and my brother is. Dad'll be 92 this November.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I suppose it's getting hotter there too.
Yeah, they have their normal weather is like what we had a couple of weekends ago.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So Mark, is that Kona coffee?
No,
What I had this morning.
it's Donut Shop from a little pod.
Oh, nice. Mine was Kona coffee from a little pod.
I haven't seen any Kona coffee from a little pod.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll go.
Wonder if it's a counterfeit.
Probably. We'll take a look. at it.
Probably is.
I gotta go get something anyway.
So yeah, I guess it's cooled down for you guys now, huh? So
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see here. It's 74.
yeah.
And that was probably pretty close to the high today.
How are the fireworks idiots, or were they toned down, or did it cool down by then?
Oh, they toned down, way down. Yeah. There's one kid killed by a mortar that went sideways.
Wow.
But for the most part, it was, there's still a debate on this apartment complex that burned down, whether that was from mortars or not. They're still
Wow.
investigating that. Because there was some
my-
stuff going off ahead of time, before the fire.
My brother, they have our old beach house down at Long Beach, and down there, yeah, it right out on the beach, it looks like a commercial display.
Yeah,
But you see that for years ago, we were down there on 4th of July, and we thought, oh, we'll drive down to Long Beach, from Clipson Beach is halfway up the peninsula.
mhm.
Where the place is at. And we drove down there, and it was continuous fireworks. Oh, let's see, what's the brand there? Alihi.
Kauai or something. Kauai. And it says on the back of it there that it is, well, somewhere on here, it says it's sourced from 20% Hawaiian coffee.
Oh, but not Kona coffee. See?
Well, mine was Kona coffee. This is Brian's coffee. I would
Oh,
never,
okay.
I would never drink mocha
'cause
macadamia.
To be legally called Kona coffee, it has to have at least 10%, or it has to have at least 10% coffee from Kona.
Yeah.
And
it
the thing
does.
is that they only make so many, 1,000 or 1,000,000 pounds of it a year, and yet you can go to the stores and they're selling more pounds of coffee supposedly from Kona than they produce. So go figure,
Oh yeah. Now the stuff I have is 10% Kona.
Okay, that's what
But
they.
it says it comes from their Koloa estate. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those weird little things. Comes in a foil bag, and
I haven't seen that. Of course, they
Yeah.
probably sent it over there for a higher price.
yeah, probably. But the pods aren't quite your regulation.
They're a little different, yeah. A little
Yeah.
smaller, huh?
Well, they don't have a plastic bottom on them. They have like a rounded mesh. So imagine
Okay.
a mesh bowl underneath. So I think they work in several different machines, but
That's why they
anyway.
put it in the foil then, so they'll keep
dang,
the.
that smells good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have one of Brian's coffees in the morning. Hey, Brian, can I have one of your coffees in the morning? All right, he said sure. So I'll be enjoying
Yeah.
away.
But anyway,
whatever.
down at Long Beach, it's you could not tell driving along the beach there the difference between the city of Long Beach has it's not a great display, but it's it's still the regular ones up in the sky. You couldn't tell the difference between all the mortars for 10, 15 miles driving down to the beaches of the public state highway, and you couldn't tell the difference. And it was that way from Clipson Beach all the way down Long Beach, just continuous. And they're driving through the smoke and trying to see. And so they sent me a little clip of out in front of their place at the cabin, and it looked like the same thing. And that's just right there at the beach approach road. So I know it was like that all the way along the beach from one end to the other, which just miles and miles of craziness. But
Well, it's a good place to do it.
it is actually.
Yeah.
Unless the east wind is really blowing, it's usually moist enough you don't have to worry about it. So
Sure. Got a big wide beach there.
Yeah.
Plenty of room.
it wasn't too bad here. And actually, the biggie here is New Year's.
Oh,
It's because all the tourists are here then, and it just it's just all night long. blasting and rumbling the windows and stuff. They're not supposed to have that stuff, but they do, you know.
Yeah.
Aloha, just 1 second here.
That's the way to answer a phone. Aloha.
So I had a radio question. I was looking at this airline from about 1940, and it has these push buttons that are mechanical, and they use these straps. So the tuning condenser has this really long shaft on it, and it has these straps that wrap around these cams that are, you can loosen the screw on the front and then set it and then tighten the screw back down. Anyway, these straps, like
They're
3 of
gone.
them out of the 7 are broken. And
Yeah.
so how do I replace those things?
Go down to Joann's Fabrics, and I'm trying to remember what they call that stuff, but you can actually buy those strips of heavy duty cotton.
I mean, I got some ribbon or something, and that's okay, but I got to set the thing has to be exactly the right length, and it has to have holes in the end of it.
Yeah,
And you have something to hold it down
yeah.
after you've drilled out the previous, things and stuff. And so it just seems like a really daunting task.
Yeah, last time I had one, I actually had a carcass with one good one left in it. And I actually very carefully removed it so that I had a template. And that's the only way I've been successful. Even then, it didn't work very well.
Yeah, well, I've got, like 3 out of the 7 are still good. But, I just couldn't quite figure out
Yeah,
how
what
to
I
deal with
did-
this properly.
What I did was I doubled it back on itself on the end so that I had twice as much material. But
Oh,
you
yeah.
You have to be careful when you do that too. That's the only advice I have on those.
Yeah, it just looked really rough, but you've got this tuning condenser with like a 7-inch shaft off the end of it. It's really crazy.
I'm amazed. I've never seen one of those intact. I thought I would have had the only one that ever survived.
Yeah, I think 3 out of the 7 are good.
That's not
Or 4 out of 7, something like that. But
And how
Yeah.
long are they going to last?
it's a great design, yeah. But you need these little strips that are made to the right length, and you have to drill out the previous ones because they won't come out. And then you have, they had little reinforcements underneath them. The things were made special for, anyway, it was an interesting set because it had, it's a 6-tube AA5, so it has an RF amplifier in the front, and it's a
RC.
1940 or 41.
RCA had a batch of them too. I think that's probably who made that airline.
No, this one's was it? I'm sorry, it has a 04. I'm sorry, GB. I'm not sure if it's Gardner Bender. It was somebody in Chicago. I can't remember the name of it right now. But the airlines are once they went in 1939, they went to the reversed
Right.
year thing.
Followed by the vendor. Yep.
Yeah, but then the vendor was after that. So I think it was GB or GK. I can't remember. But
You ever run into a situation on service information? I have both volumes of the Ward's airline books.
cool.
I know some of those, you open them up and you get a schematic that's, 4 inches by 6 inches. In the Ward's books, in the Montgomery Ward service guides, they're all 8.5 by 11.
Yeah, and this was a 610 or a 611. I think the 610 was, black, and the 611 was painted ivory or whatever. They're nice Bakelite sets and pretty big, but like I say, they're 6-tube AA5, so they were pretty good performers.
Is it tuned or untuned RF? Is it 2 gangs?
I think it's not tuned. I think because
two
it
gang.
only has 2-gang cap. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's untuned. That's still nice though.
yeah.
I've got one of those in an Emerson that I have one of those Selecta antenna coils behind. It's an amazing performer. I listen to CBC1 in Calgary almost every night with it. And I can get KOA Denver, whole host of different radio stations, and pretty amazing. But that 6th tube makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, you get, at least an untuned, amplification of 10 or 15, which is quite a lot.
Well, the front end with a tune gives you a lot more Q and selectivity, but yeah, gain is a lot too.
That select antenna coil I put in front of it gives you
That sure helps.
a little bit more selective. In fact, it's extremely sharp.
So is the winding on that Litz?
I don't know what the select antenna is. I have a second one. I've been in this. This is a Radio Shack one. And it is not Litz. I thought about someday pulling the winding out of it, changing it to Litz, but I don't know what the select antenna is. I've got 3 or 4 different rolls of Litz, and one of them is the, 2844 or whatever it is they recommend for the broadcast band. Well, looks like Pat must be on his way over here. He's not tuned in anymore.
Yeah, I've got a lot of different Litz wire here.
They've got one particular one that's supposed to be particularly good for broadcast band coils, but I want to say one of the, it's either 44 gauge or 44 strands. I forget which.
Well, some of the stuff I was doing in Air Tech, we needed to get pretty high Q. And that's pretty low frequency stuff, like 256 kilohertz on the horizontal rate.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's very high frequency for horizontal, but still.
As the ref goes, it's pretty low.
That makes quite a difference, yeah. And I guess, you see Litz on horizontal linearity coils in the old TVs. Pretty coarse Litz, but still Litz.
Actually, I thought it was interesting, over the years, how much smaller the oscillator coils got in just regular old AM band radios. They started out being like 3/4 of an inch in diameter and, 1.5 inches long or whatever. And by the 50s, they ended up being about, I don't know, 1/3 that size or something. Same function, So it was a lot of advancing in technology to reduce costs. I'm sure.
Yeah, I wonder whether you didn't have reduced performance, even though it's still pretty good.
Well, that's true because the what was the nighttime thing? What did they call that? The clear channel before it was the name of a company, where you got 50 kilohertz. I'm sorry, 50,000 watts, and they gave you a clear channel all over North America after dark. And so you didn't need that good of a radio, unlike the old days, right?
Yeah. I guess most of us weren't alive when they were doing 50,000 watts back in Philadelphia, 500,000 watts rather.
Well, I know Crosley did some giant transmitter in Cincinnati or whatever.
Yeah, that was the 500K. That's the one that brought about 50,000 watt limit.
Yeah, WLW. Yeah.
WLW got complaints out of Canada for tearing up some of the regional stuff up there. I think that was what I recall.
Yeah, and Crosley actually was the first. That station was the first one to broadcast a baseball game.
Huh.
because he owned the Cincinnati Reds and he owned WLW, and they brought somebody over to try out remote broadcasting or something like that. And they started, doing the play-by-play, and then, a whole business was born.
Yep. So the 500 kilowatt job in World War II was moved over to England. They bumped it up to 600 kilowatts. And when airplanes were coming over Germany, they'd shut the stations down so that they didn't have something to home in on. And in England, bam, within microseconds, they'd come in, and it still continued on. And so they were kind of feeding the Germans bullshit during the 15 or 20 minutes of their airtime off while they were doing the bombing run. And they'd do that again the next time. And anyway, so that's where that station went. I forget all the details. God, I've got a nice book on that.
There's some great stills of WLW transmitter, with the gigantic water-cooled vacuum tubes that it took to hit that transmitter. That it was RCA designed it for sure.
Did RCA or was it Western Electric that did it, or Westinghouse?
I'm pretty sure it was RCA.
Okay. Well, RCA and Westinghouse were connected along with GE, so.
For sure.
This is the book,
What's it called?
The Secret Wireless War,
Oh, there it is.
the story of MI6 communications, 1939 to 1945.
Wow.
If somebody'd like to borrow it, I'd sure loan it. Maybe I would just donate it to the club. But it really digs in nice and deep. Talking about how the wireless communications were done during World War II, and how they're setting up these Dodge ambulances with communications in it, receivers and transmitters, and getting them over to France. And it's a long read. It's pretty deep, pretty big book, but a lot of good info in it.
Sounds like a good read.
Yeah.
So the Germans had some kind of a beam forming location system that they used to bomb, Britain with, where they would take these two beams from different points on the continent, and then when they got to where the beams intersected, they would drop the bombs. It was a pretty elaborate system for the day. And then I think that's probably the kind of the stuff that Bruce has brought up in his book, was they started spoofing them. The British would interfere with those signals and stuff to make them drop the bombs, short of their target and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's interesting to go into a fair amount of detail of trying to make the announcer sound like the German announcer, that was on just before the power went down, and to pick right up and continue on. It was a big team effort.
Well, what's everybody working on? Myron's working on an airline.
Well, I worked on some of those Philco kitchen radios for the last couple of weeks, and the ones that went on top of the refrigerators.
Oh,
So apparently they sold them with the refrigerator. You couldn't buy it unless you bought a refrigerator. It's 1941, 42.
I'm really familiar with those.
I got a couple of them from McCracken's, and I had one before. In 41, the 41 model year, they had one that was a clock radio and a radio. And the interesting thing about them is they're white and they have a curved bottom. So because the Philco refrigerators at the time had a curved top. And so when you bought the refrigerator,
Oh, I know which one those
you
are.
would buy the radio and it set it on top of the
Set it
refrigerator.
on top. Well, that's cool.
And in 41, I'd never seen one of those before. I knew they had one. It was a 41 KR. In 42, they had the 42 KR3, which was without the clock radio, and the 42 KR5, which was the same as the 41 KR, which had the clock in it. And they're white and they're solid wood. I mean, they're, really solid wood painted white. As a fairly conventional design, but the clocks are quite interesting. They have these synchronous motors made by some company in Connecticut. They're not the Telecron motors, and then they have a mechanical, clock after that. But they have these synchronous motors that rotate on the back sides of them.
Sounds pretty cool.
And you just lubricate them, and then they go. It's like no problem, right? But the problem with them is they're kind of compact, and so when you get in there and it's 41, 42, right? And so you got these solid wires with everything that's red turns to dust, and you got these problems. You have to replace all the wires in them because they all go to hell basically. So been working on some of those, but they're fairly conventional radios, but they're really interesting because they're white and made to go on top of refrigerators. Hi, Pat.
Hi,
Pat's here.
I made it. Here's the jar. I couldn't find the one you lent me for the.
Didn't need that back.
well,
Nice of you, though.
But I thought that was interesting because, later on, Westinghouse sold refrigerators with those radios, those refrigerator radios after the war.
Like?
And this is pre-war.
Huh. I didn't know didn't know anything about them. That'd make a really good article.
Yeah.
Talking about the radios that sat on top of Philco refrigerators.
Yeah, they have a curved top, and so the radios they had a curved bottom that sat on top, and apparently you could not buy them unless you bought the refrigerator.
Wow,
Wow.
that's dirty pool.
Is that the one you got from McCracken's?
I got a couple from them. One was the 41 KR, which I'd never seen before. And the other one was a 42 KR3, which, well, unfortunately, somebody had painted it blue or something. So it had a new paint job on it. But like I say, the 41, there was just the radio plus the clock radio, which is a 41 KR. And in 42, there was the 42 KR3, which was without the clock, and the 42 KR5, which had the clock, which looked a lot more like the 41 KR. Now, I'd never seen the 41 KR before. And so I bought the McCracken's 41 KR and the blue 42 KR3. And I had a 42 KR3 before from some years back, but it was only recently that I discovered that, you couldn't buy them without buying a refrigerator.
Oh, that's cool. That makes them a little rarer, I guess.
Yeah.
Get you a soda pop or a water?
No, I'm good. You said you might have.
Talking about refrigerators, we got a new Samsung here probably 5 years ago now. Anyway, called up and complained because you set the freezer for 8 degrees plus 8, and you couldn't get the ice cream out. Hard as a rock. So I put a thermocouple in there. Well, it's minus 28. What the hell? So a guy comes out and he's looking at it. And, oh, you need a new computer. Okay. Well, it's got to come from Korea. We don't have one here in the States. So finally in the mail, we get the computer, call him. He comes out and pulls the computer out. It's all surface mount, small board.
Mhm.
Well, the new computer is a big board. It's all through hole. Well, wait a minute. That's old technology. He says, well, I can't put that in there. And I said, well, wait a minute. I think it physically fits. And if you go around, here are the same connectors except for Ethernet. And I don't need Ethernet in my refrigerator. And yeah, I put it in, turned it on, left. We're still at minus 28. Okay.
Why don't you, if you don't use the Ethernet, how's it going to tell you when you need another motherboard?
Yeah, right. So anyway, another guy comes out with his laptop and it's got all the documentation on it and this and that. And he says, well, you know, when it goes to make ice, it goes to minus 28. I says, what? Our last refrigerator didn't go to minus 28 to make ice. Well, evidently, it wasn't making ice fast enough. So a quick software fix, just drive it down to minus 28, right? Well, it turns out the major problem is that the ice maker hose got kinked. Okay, so it was always trying to make ice. So now when you go to the refrigerator, if it's not making ice, your ice cream's okay. But if it's making ice, forget it.
Well, that's because their marketing department determined that people who make ice don't eat ice cream.
Oh, is that?
We all know who drives those big companies. It's certainly not the engineers anymore.
No.
Bruce, does it have a flex tray? Flex tray ice maker?
I don't know.
It kind of spins it, twists it.
I really haven't dug into this one. I added
okay.
an ice maker to our old one, but I haven't really looked that close at this one.
Yeah, the idea was that they have a quick ice too, I think, programming on it. They say quick ice, so you can make more ice, and that makes it go down to minus 28. So.
Well, we've never told it to do that.
Oh. So it probably overrode it because it wasn't making enough ice because there's not enough water to make enough ice, right? They make small ice cubes?
No.
No, or hollow ones? Neither
Nope.
one, huh? Oh,
Nope.
really?
Sometimes there's a few small ones, but not many. And that's what the kink fixed. But when it was kinked, they were pretty full.
They have a typical problems with the drain. They put the drain into a Y, so that drain in the back of the evaporator will clog up. That was a heck of a trouble with those Samsungs.
Well, our refrigerator, the condensation was filling the refrigerator with water. And anyway, looking up on the internet, well, it's pretty odd. These do it pretty often. They freeze up at the drain.
Yep.
And so the defrost has a little aluminum job with a pointy that goes down into the hose. So when the defrost heater that this is clamped to heats up, it goes down into the hose to melt that ice so that it will flow. Well, it turns out, besides being too short, this one was kinked out. So it really had no chance. I should have gotten that under warranty, but you know how things go when you try to do warranty. We went around in circles on this ice maker.
Just add a copper wire to it. go down into
Anyway,
the drain.
they have a modified replacement that has a lot longer thing that goes down into the
Yeah,
hose,
exactly. Yeah.
and we haven't had any trouble since. Oh, no. Then, of course, at the bottom end, they got this flexible thing so that air doesn't go up.
Yeah,
but
a
fluid
flapper.
goes down. But that design didn't work either. So I had to get new, I don't know what they call those.
They call it a flapper.
Yeah, kind of a flapper thing.
Hmm.
Anyway, they'd get frozen up. But I mean, okay, I've got this pop machine out on the patio that we have beer and pop and water in. When I was a kid at 1961, I got this off of a gas station. They were going to toss it. So toss it my way. I have used that thing 24/7 for, well, let's see, 40, 60 years now since that time. 20 years ago, I cleaned the inside out and repainted it inside. Other than that, it's still running.
It's R12, that's why.
Well, yeah, but you've got a compressor, you've got two fans, one inside and one outside. The fan inside runs 24/7, and it's never had oil.
Amazing what happens when you get rid of the computer.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you don't have to meet all the star ratings and all the regulation rules and the amount of electricity it uses, all that kind of stuff.
well, it doesn't use that much.
No,
You know,
it doesn't. But
The walls are that thick
exactly.
with insulation in it. They were meant to sit out in front of a gas station in the sunshine and the freezing rain and you name it. Yet you buy a new refrigerator and it's going ding, 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 ding all the way, one thing after another. Great new technologies,
Yeah, well, make everything lighter and use less electricity and all that kind of stuff, and try to over-engineer everything, right? Yeah, those old R12 units will last for 40 years, easy, 40, 50 years. That's crazy.
Well, it was
And
probably
then a
20 years,
134A system will only last maybe 14 years at the most.
it was probably 20 years old when I got it, so it's 80 years on it.
Wow. Yeah, good old R12.
I've never actually used it myself, but I repaired a lot of R12 stuff for people. So I had I don't know, it's a 25-pound container. And it was still about half full. And 2 years ago, I finally sold that for $180.
So what is my full can of R12 worth?
A 1-pounder?
I don't know. Oh, hey, that's pretty. Look.
It's probably $30 today.
Well, a 30-pound thing of Hot Shot right now, which is replacement for R12, is about $350, something like that. But that's a blend of gas, so it's got all kinds of stuff in it. But even R22 is outlawed now too. So.
Yeah, this is R12, and I think it's a 12-ounce can.
Not quite a pound, okay.
Nope.
But yeah, the 12 pounds went for $180.
Wow.
I'm sure it's well above that today.
But I'm sure everybody knows that Freon was invented because the ammonia systems were killing people prior to that.
Yep. There's a lot of stuff going back to ammonia now.
Yeah,
butane.
People were putting their refrigerators on their back porches because there'd been this famous event in Chicago someplace where ammonia refrigerators had killed a bunch of people in an apartment building. And so DuPont and GM decided that they needed to do something about that if they're going to continue to sell refrigerators. And that's where Freon came from, R12.
Huh.
Of course, I just got back here, but the old ice ball ones they had that had the ammonia, is that what it was?
Icy ball?
Icy ball that got Crossley sold, I guess.
Well, Icy Ball was a different product because you could heat it up and then later on use it for refrigeration after you had, heated it up.
Okay.
But refrigeration in the early days used ammonia, and when they had leaks, it would kill people. And this was a famous event in Chicago. I don't know when it was.
Yeah, that's when I
exactly,
walked
in
in
the
and heard you saying
20s,
that. Yeah.
where a bunch of people had been killed. And so DuPont specifically and GM said, well, if we're going to have refrigerators, we have to quit killing people. And then we have to quit putting the refrigerators on the back porch. That was the whole thing. Everybody, since it's going to kill us, we're putting it in the back porch. Well, not everybody had a back porch. And so,
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
yeah, so they came up with the Freon, and, God knows, nobody thought about the ozone layer at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
for goodness sakes, it was a miracle, just like tetraethyl lead. It was the same people who came up with that, but that's another story.
Yeah. Interesting. And here in Hawaii, I wish we had a 2-piece refrigerator with the heat exchanger outside to not put the heat inside the house. A tropical refrigerator.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you
Well-
think about, geez, it's just like these houses have overhangs all around them, and our front lanai has this overhang, eave, and then so when we first we had a cover on the lanai, which was that kind of it's like 5 degrees hotter, 10 degrees hotter in the front of the house, because the heat, the infrared comes through the roofing, and then it's all trapped in that corner. It has no place to go. It's kind of like the roof overhangs down, and I'm just thinking like, well, that's very stupid designing it that way. When you live in a hotter area, you should think about those designs so you don't trap heat around your place.
So during the hot spell, when it was 111 or 12, I took my IR thermometer outside. Anyway, the white cement was 140. The blacktop was 163.
Yeah.
We have a brown concrete tile roof,
Yeah.
180 degrees,
Yeah.
181 degrees.
Yeah. Now
I mean, you could just put your hand near it and
feel the, yeah.
oh,
Now, so here you see, like, amazingly, this house didn't have any. It had the bird blocks at the bottom, but it didn't have any exhaust vents at the top, which to me was like, what, And so I put in a solar powered vent, and eventually I put in a powered vent, and then I find out. I was watching, YouTube from Onan's Coring, and it says, well, actually, you don't want powered vents because unless your ceiling, in your home is sealed everywhere, your light fixtures, your, any penetration in there, you're going to suck the cold air out of the house and out through the vent. And I thought, okay, because it gets real blazing hot up in the attic, but and there is some insulation up there, but so I set it so it only comes on when it's at the very highest temperature where it will cycle on, and I lowered my electric bill.
It's supposed to be black though.
yeah,
By turning that thing off, actually.
I'll be darned.
It's like brown.
I told you what the rates are here, so you look at that stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I say, Mark, they're still generating all the electricity there with
Yeah,
bunker oil, right?
I don't know if it's, I don't know, not all of it. Now here,
Or
about 35% is geothermal on the Big Island.
instead of
Now,
doing
they
this,
lost that when the volcano kind of overran part of the place where they had the field. They had to shut it down. But the geothermal is about 35%. And yeah, it's some sort of fossil fuel powers, at least in the Big Island, powers the lion's share. But there's a lot of we have you know, grid tied system on the house that makes about 16 to 20 kilowatt hours a day, and so that really lowers our electric bill considerably. So it's during the daytime, of course, it's feeding into the grid what we don't use, and that helps out quite a bit.
So how do they charge you on that? You
Well,
get a net-
actually, on ours, it's really stupid because ours is net zero. So which they don't do that anymore. But when they put this up, they allowed so many places up to a certain percentage of the neighborhoods to do this net zero. So if I put 10 kilowatts onto the grid, I get 10 kilowatts. I mean, excess. I get 10 kilowatts back at the same. In other words, it's a zero cost difference, which that's not right because there's losses and
Sure.
other you know, inefficiencies in the system. So I think they finally wised up now. They don't do those deals anymore. They do it at a it's more like 65 cents in a dollar, I think now, which is probably more realistic. But
Mhm.
we don't generate enough with. Turns out we run the AC. Actually, in the daytime, almost year round. We set it about 80. It just gets the humidity down a little bit, takes
Yeah.
the edge off the temperature, and that's comfortable. And in the wintertime, it might be on, you know, still a little bit in the daytime, but at night, you know, we can open the windows and stuff like that. It's
Sure.
a little bit cooler. But
Yeah, that net metering is pretty sweet.
yeah, we set, like I said, yes, it is. But but now we can't add with the deal there. I can't add to the net metering, but I can put in a separate system, I think, with batteries and stuff. And that one, I guess you can get around not disturbing the net metering, I guess. But they won't let you add on the net metering anymore. But you can put in, you know, like say a Tesla Powerwall or whatever additional separate. And if you power enough of your stuff, then you could get the net metering storing some excess.
Well, the deal in Oregon is that, you know, they just do it over a yearly cycle and they'll only let you net out to
Yes.
zero.
That's what we have, is a yearly cycle on it.
So if you make more than you use over the year, then you just give it to them.
That's right. It's over a year's period, and so that's what they look at. It's the same kind of thing, but like I say, it's really not realistic on their part.
No, I mean, it's relatively fair in the sense that you're using their grid for backup.
Yeah. No, what I mean by not fair is because when you look at the losses that they're going to incur, they really should never. It never should have been net zero, I guess, because they're losing on that. If you had it balanced out, yeah. Now, to tell you the real criminal thing here is the geothermal has been, or still is, I think, tied to the cost avoidance of the cost of fossil fuels. So that when the fossil fuel pricing goes up, the geothermal company makes more.
Oh,
Yes, they did that supposedly as the incentive so that they would invest. And now they actually had a big ad in the papers from Helco. That's it's HELLCO, or we call it Helco, Hawaiian Electric Company, saying we're not the bad guys. That's not us. We just buy it from them. Well, I can tell you that Helco is owned by or owns one of the big banks, and you know that they have holding companies and holding companies. I can guarantee you, there's a back door that they hold. Somebody's got to hold a lot of stock to the geothermal company, and I'm sure they are getting rich off of it. They just don't want to admit to it. But actually, they're going to change that now. They're going to go to a fixed price, which is what it should be. It should have been all along.
Yeah, the politics of energy is quite.
And you don't really realize it. They just put a geothermal in where the stuff is close to the surface. Anywhere in this earth, if you drill deep enough, you got geothermal, and it'd be a higher cost up front. But they could put it in anywhere and take care of all the energy needs for 10,000 years or something crazy like that. Easily without.
So how did the volcano disrupt the geothermal?
Well, because where the volcano, it went off down the south end of the island. Lilani Estates is where it came up at, or where they erupted out at, and it flowed out towards the ocean. And the thing is that the Puna geothermal plant is right next door to that, and so a couple of the wells were flooded over by the lava flow, and plus they lost the power line connection too, so they had to shut the thing down. And they lost connection. I think it's pretty well restored now, back online. They had to build a new road out there and make the connection, and they're also putting in some more wells now, which is I think a very smart thing. And with the fixed cost ideas, that's what they should have done all along. So
how far do they go down?
That I don't recall, but I don't think it's real deep. But the thing is that when the eruption started, see, Kilauea is up higher.
Yeah,
it's about a 3,000 foot or more, or maybe it's 6,000 foot fall from Kilauea down to where it came out at. And I think that the plumbing got altered down there, and the lava that was in that lake up there ran down under. Just think of the pressure of lava. And pushed its way up, because what came out first was old lava from a previous eruption about 40, 50 years ago. And that's when it first started, you see. So the old stuff got pushed out, and then finally the new stuff came up, and then of course it was flowing so fast that it was down to the ocean in a day or so, and wiped out 700 houses down by the coast.
Yeah, a friend of mine lost his house there in the States.
Yeah.
In '86, we were the last car on that far south route to go through.
Really?
They shut her down, and we drove a few more blocks. We went, my son and I, two sons and I, we went up through the jungle to meet the flow, and it was a pretty good walk yet. But anyway, we met the flow, and it's just moseying along, and right now it's kind of blocked by a couple of trees that are laying down. And so I had my sister's camcorder, one of those that had the camera in the big box.
Yeah.
And I could not make it focus. It just went.
Because the infrared.
The infrared was just driving it nuts.
Well,
there was no way you could get hurt, because you can't get close enough to it. There's no friggin' way.
Yeah. Well, the stuff that came out later, see, like I say, it was going like 30 miles an hour or something, and it and it literally. So the place that it wiped out was a place called Kapoho and the Champagne Ponds. It's a real beautiful place if you ever look at the videos and stuff. And they just got apparently they must have got the word that night, you got to get out. And then by the next morning, it was all wiped out, 700 houses down there and stuff. It just whoosh.
Anyway, we planned on visiting the Queen's Bath the next day, but it already inundated it. Queen's Bath was gone.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, Phil Crosby, he's over there quite often. Anyway, he'd been to the Queen's Bath several times, and there were quite a number of species that are special species that weren't found anywhere else
Well,
because it was in this trapped little
yeah. Well,
area.
like I say, they're not there now.
And
Yeah,
they-
there's this neat place. It was like a giant. It was like I forget how long it was. It was this pond, big pond, and it was heated by the volcano. It was like 105 degrees. It's like a giant hot tub
Wow.
that's like 300 feet long or 200 feet long, and I forget how wide. We went down there years ago. That's all gone. That was in the same area where it was at the coast, and it's all, you know. But there's different places where, you know, there's stuff in the ground and it stays there for decades, you know, hot. You know, so
Wildlife get acclimated and you end up with some new stuff.
yeah. I have a little cabin up in Ocean View, which is down on the south end of the island. It's where I got my ham radio antennas and stuff now. I mean, where I can have a tower up, and just got a new neighbor, and she bought this. It's a cabin like ours next door, and right now running on generator, and she's getting an education. The young gal doesn't have a clue, and there's no solar yet on the house, and she's working on. I gave her some advice of what they ask for her to get bids on, because fueling a generator every couple of days it gets old.
Yeah.
She found that out in a hurry. It says I have 7 panels on the cabin, and a clean sine wave inverter that doesn't bother the radio, and a couple of lithium iron phosphate batteries, and it powers our refrigerator, powers everything in the cabin, keeps the refrigerator afloat, and the internet, and the security camera, and when we're down there, never run out of power so far. So it's kind of nice.
So how are you connected to the internet?
Fiber of all things, we have a fiber optic drop there.
Wow.
Yes. It was dumb luck because the people that built the place, his wife was a student, and they had a special going on of free installation and 2 months connectivity for free from Hawaiian Telephone, fiber optics. And there's a limited number of drops there, and one became available at that time. And so it was in, and we bought it. Pay $70 a month for that, but it's 50 up and down,
Uh-huh.
which is plenty adequate. And so there's no it's, as far as I can tell, it's fiber from the cabin all the way back to the CO, which is down to a town about 15 miles away or so.
So it's 50-50, huh? Wow.
Yeah, it's 50 up and down. It's what it's advertised as,
My
which
goodness.
is plenty.
Last time I checked mine here, it was 60 up and 600 down, something in
Yeah.
that order.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I don't need that.
No,
I mean,
I
50-50 would be more than enough.
yeah, it is. I'll tell you, 20 is plenty. I mean, I don't probably a real 10 is probably plenty, you know. So
Even if you're streaming 2 TVs, you know, I mean,
yeah.
good God. Anyway,
Yeah. But yeah, so it's and actually I'm sharing the Wi-Fi over to the neighbors there because I know they can't. I think the only thing she could get would be satellite,
mhm.
and that's not very
No.
it's not very good, and it's as much or more as what I'm paying for a fiber drop. So
Yeah, my sister's got a cabin up on Mount Hood, and anyway, I worked with a buddy, and he had the cabin just above her. Anyway, he opened his Wi-Fi up for her.
Yeah.
So that made it a lot easier.
yeah, well, sharing the cost.
Well, he's up there a lot.
Yeah.
She's not.
Yeah.
And he's never asked for any money.
Yeah.
But I think he must be through the telephone line. I can't imagine he'd have fiber up there.
Well, you never know. I mean, Ocean View is out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's why I was so amazed.
Yeah, well, like I say, lucked out because before it was only down by the highway down below, a few miles below, and then the wireless, microwave, connection type things to the houses and stuff, and for more money than I'm probably paying for the fiber. So
Yeah, but I mean, if you're doing something new out in
Yeah.
the boonies, what's the difference between fiber and copper? Probably not fiber may be cheaper in the long run.
fiber should be actually the fiber should be cheaper.
Yeah.
And they can, I don't know how far they can run it now, but I think they can easily run it 50 kilometers or 20 kilometers with no repeaters or anything, very easily.
Yeah.
And if they're smart with these grants and stuff, they'll put more of it in, because that's just, they always want to upsell you, but really that's bread and if they really thought about it, it's just bread and butter. It's this monthly income they can count on, because if you got a good reliable connection, you don't want to, you don't want it to go away. So
Yeah, well, Google was talking about putting in 1 gig fiber in Portland, but somehow that went away. But it would have sure been nice to have a little competition.
Yeah.
We had Store and Liberty cable down our road way back when. And, you'd call up, oh, I'd like to try HBO. Oh, that's $12.50. Oh, wait a minute, you're on Johnson Road. That's $7.50. Well, there's competition on the road.
Huh?
We were at the border of these two cable
Yeah.
outfits. But you don't have a lot of choice.
Yeah.
DSL or cable here.
Yeah.
And DSL just doesn't quite cut it.
That's what we had in Warshigo. Finally, after decades of nothing, we finally got DSL, and that was great. They were pushing that because the old DSL, they could only go about a quarter mile, and they were pushing this. They could push it 3 miles and get it, and we were getting 11 gig, or not 11 gigs, 11 megs was the raw feed coming into the house, and I'm like, well, really, over crummy twisted pair of copper wire. So they really advanced it. Didn't get the mute button.
I got a picture of that refrigerator radio, the Philco. Is this what he was talking about? Let me show you guys. Do you guys see it?
Oh, really?
Is that what he's talking about? Well, that looks like a clock radio too, isn't it? Or is that a dial?
Well,
Maybe not.
Westinghouse made a refrigerator. It looked like a refrigerator, but it was a small
yeah.
radio.
Little blue one. Or
Yeah, they
colored
had
ones,
different
right?
colors. I think they had
But they
different
look like
colors.
look like refrigerators. This one's the one that sits on top, right? I
Yeah.
think that's what he was talking about.
Huh.
Is he still on?
Refrigerator, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. I like
What I came in late. What's the story with that?
Oh, they were talking about this refrigerator radio that they got at the McCracken sale.
bottom of the curve.
Who are they?
Do you remember who that was? That was Mark, wasn't it? Or Mike?
Myron's
Was
wife.
it Myron? He was Myron.
Oh, Myron.
Yeah.
Pat, did you see the radio?
Yeah, I saw that. Actually, I was with Myron when he bought those 2 refrigerator radios at the McCracken sale.
Is that what it looked like?
I think so. I remember seeing one of those at the McCracken
Right.
sale. I bet
But-
that was the one.
But the one he bought is longer because it's a crockery. It has an extra dial. So yeah, that is one of them.
Wow.
I'm not seeing anything along those lines here.
What are we looking for there? The proper screw?
No, we're looking for knobs.
No knobs.
Oh.
Yeah, he needs a knob that looks like that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep, except it has to be black. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them out here, but so far he's only found one that's black.
Oh, and one gray one.
Oh, and a gray one. I'm
You
just
got a
sitting
white
here
pointer on it? Does it have a white pointer on it, or is it?
No, it's just got some little, got some 3 little tiny scribes that are 180 degrees opposed off of an airline.
I'm gonna catch you guys later.
It's not like a Magnavox, huh?
Okay, see you, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark.
Aloha. Take care.
Bye. Have fun. Don't get any shark bites.
Don't
That's
forget
right.
about Zoom on Saturday.
What? Yeah, it's this Saturday. That's right. Yeah, I'll see if I
Yeah,
can check
Saturday.
in. Yeah, that's a early in the morning thing for me.
I guess it must be, right?
It's 6:30 dark in the morning.
Yeah, O'Dark.
It's not dark then, but see ya.
Bye, Mark.
See ya.
Right. Mark. Okay, well, I think you got your choices there. You can either do like the Chinese twin thing and do a black one and a brown one, or you can do 2 brown ones.
Brown looks.
Go all brown?
Say again?
Go all brown instead of black?
Yeah.
Brown.
Well, I've got
You know, it's amazing.
ones.
You
that might have
You
some
can go through a box like that. And takes you forever.
Not here.
Problem is,
Some-
I got 40 boxes like that.
Oh, geez.
Hey, maybe, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Bruce, this is Christian. I was asking about the 12AY7 6092 tubes.
I have a few.
Yeah, I'm using them for guitar amplifier. So not only do they test, or they have to sound a certain way. So, but anyway, I'm looking for their tubes because they're not as easy to obtain the older ones. They're remanufacturing them now, but I don't think they sound the same.
What's
And that's
the number on them again?
12AY7 or equivalent was a 6092, which I haven't tried those. I don't know
I think we'll look and see what I got for 12A.
if I like them. I just, a lot of it has to do with trying something, but
You saw my email?
yeah, I saw the email.
Yeah, I saw different. I have several different brands.
Now, are they all used or some used and some new or all new?
They're all new.
Okay.
It doesn't have to look like this.
What application were they for why you have them?
It doesn't seem to.
I just got the new tubes.
I know what application would they go in
Oh, audio.
for you? Okay.
I didn't have any purpose for buying them specifically. I just got a bunch of tubes and I've kept them in stock and used what I needed when I needed them.
I couldn't find one.
Okay.
It's like, well, I'll just find one. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, 'cause they're kind of only now popular for the 1950s Fender amplifiers or their circuits.
With they're probably used in the military also.
Yeah, well, there was at one point where I guess they weren't used as often, and during the, I think, late 50s, Fender went into 1287.
Yeah, well, your 12AX7s and 12AU7s are just ended up the most popular, I think.
Well, I have tons of U7s. You can look in the back of a lot of electric organs. You can find over 300 12AU7s.
12AU7s got a gain of about 20.
Yeah.
The Y7s are about 44.
But all this has to do with those still how they are biased too, though, correct?
To an extent, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, because that's the other deal I was noticing or looking into, where if people are switching in and out of tubes, the reason a tube works in a certain circuit is I think, you know, what the specs were on the tube, just not the gain only.
Yeah.
It's how the gain's delivered or allowed to.
A lot of it's set by what kind of plate or cathode current you want to run. And of course, your plate resistor, your cathode
Yeah,
bias.
Most of these on the plates are 100K.
Yeah,
most
typical.
of the time. And then they're set up. I don't know. It's I don't know. I guess I don't want to know how to build a light bulb. I just use one if it's a good one. Same thing with amplifier circuits. I don't design them. I just, people have already done that. Then certain ones you just pick through and then those circuits work, and then they've worked for many, many years.
Just depends on the day.
So I don't try and redesign them. I just use the ones that somebody already made, and I just kind of, I get scout out the parts that
Yeah, I see it.
that work or that are competent for the
No, that doesn't.
audio effect. And I do have I don't have very many, but I think I probably only have about 3 12A Y7.
Oh, I've
But
got
then-
12 BY7s.
But I have never tried the 092. I don't know, and I think they have a 6092A, but I don't know if those would be too clean, possibly. Get enough color out of them. I don't know.
The other thing about this tube is the pinout's quite different from a 12AU7 or 12AX7.
Then it's not a complete plug or oh yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
compatible.
It's not
Yeah,
plug and play.
Right, it's not a compatible.
You'd have to rewire the socket if you're putting that in place of a 12AX7 or 12AU7.
Okay. Yeah, it's
There's a
12
heater on that is 1 and 9, pin 1 and 9.
Yeah, instead of 4, 5, 9.
Right. Well, 4, 5, and 9, isn't it?
On 12A X7, 12AT7, and 12AU7. I use 12AT7s too.
But they got the center tap 12-volt heater.
On which one?
The U, the T, and the X.
It's like a telephone dial.
Oh yeah, because you're running the. I think they're 6.
That's what you're supposed to do.
That's 6.3, isn't it, on heater?
To change the dial. Oh, really? One thing you didn't-
6.3 on what?
Wow.
On heaters.
Oh,
Yeah, but you got two
Heater
heaters.
voltage.
You got 2 heaters in series, which makes
Yeah.
12.
On
But you can
a
wire it.
trial.
You can wire it for
Yeah.
6, where the heaters are in parallel. But you don't
Yeah,
have a
they're usually
choice.
splitting on these circuit boards
You don't have a choice on the AY7.
with an AU. Or YU. Okay. Yeah, I'm not as familiar. I built the amplifier and I use it, but I enjoy it with certain tubes anyway of the 12AY. And then I think they got the half of the phase inverters on a 12AX7. It's using 1/2. But it does affect the sound. So, do you know what you're asking for those?
How many do you want?
It depends on the variety, I guess, is what I'm interested also is the testing of the variety. Or the different, you said you had Westinghouse and GE.
ITT and don't remember exactly.
I think you said Westinghouse and
Some blonde ones.
GE,
They have some of those on it.
which are
Oh,
kind of,
there was a Dumont in there.
and a Dumont, yeah. Yeah, I'd be interested in the variety of those two. Of the different brands, but I don't know, when it comes to tube testing and all that, it comes down to what the tube test at too. And then after it
I haven't tested them since they're in the box, but I can do
Yeah.
that. Um,
Well, I have a tester and then I
Okay.
plug them in. So after I look at, I guess you'd say you just kind of test, I get an idea of what a test or a tube possibly will do. And then I
I'd say
plug it.
$5 a piece.
Oh, that's great. Take as many as you can get at that price. Those, they don't make, I mean, they're making new production, but of course, old production isn't made, so. No, those tubes.
They probably go for 20 or 30 on the internet. Well,
yeah.
there'll be more higher ones, but you know, they probably start at 20 or 30.
Yeah, because I have a couple, I think I have a couple RCAs and those usually are SATA. And then how everybody breaks it down, it depends on if it's got a this getter or that getter,
Oh,
what
yeah.
plate, you know, gray plate, this plate, that plate.
I don't
And
get her. I don't get her.
I do, because it's like there's a long plate, black plate, and you go ahead and plug it in. You're so microphonic you can't use it in the first position of the gain stage or the preamp stage. So it's like, well, is that tube worth? You know, so you kind of have to pick through why a tube is worth, you know, potentially more than another. And if it's microphonic, it's, well, you got to put it somewhere else. And that's the whole deal with, you've heard of the EI tube from Yugoslavia?
No.
Yeah, well, that was, it's closed down now. The plant, I guess, is closed, but that was very, very prone to microphonics. But if you found one that wasn't, then it tends to be a desirable tube, you know, for certain amplifiers. And then since they don't make it anymore, you're like, they don't make it anymore. Same thing with the True or the Svetlana factory. And then this guy from Reflector, he's bought up all these different names, you know, desirable names, and then he brands them. And then, so of course you're getting modern tubes with the old name, but I haven't, those tubes don't compare, they just have the name. They've got
They don't
the old.
compare how.
As far as tonal quality, I guess you'd say, as far as just probably even
Okay.
durability, I mean, they're just not made the same. They're, as far as you plug something in and have a certain tonal quality of an older tube. And I was quite against older tubes for a long time because I've retubed a lot of guys' guitar amplifiers, and they've come over with old tubes and old, you know, RCA and GEs and whatever, and they bought them for too much money. Somebody told them they're great, but I retubed them with modern tubes of course my liking, and then they were extremely surprised that, you know, and it was my experience too. New tubes was what I tended to go after until I started finding or going through old tubes that, again, you would say that probably weren't wore out yet, or they just weren't abused. And you kind of just have to sort through the things, which is time consuming, but the older stuff can really outperform in certain situations a lot of the newer stuff for the guitar amp. as far as you're getting these strained sounds or the gritty sounds, or it's not a pleasant harmonics that come through. And again, that's sorting the tube, just because it has the name and the, like a Bugle Boy Amperex. They're hot, so as far as on the market, so people buy them because I think they like that Bugle Boy look. And then the word gets around. And then there you have your hi-fi audio guys also. And people just go on brand name or what they know. They just, if it's familiar sounding and the other guys say, oh, you got to get this. They get a trend going, but if you don't have enough things to sort through, you really don't know that maybe that's really not a great sounding tube compared to another one of the same brand and the same type. You just have to you got to sort through the stuff. If you don't have the luxury, then I don't know. I mean, that's where I was at when I was early on. I didn't have the luxury of comparing.
So where are you at, Christian?
Where am I at physically?
Yeah.
Oh, about halfway, the 34th parallel. Well, no, I'm here in Portland. 91st and Gleason.
Southeast,
Northeast.
northeast?
Right up by mile 205 area.
Oh, okay.
Where are you at? Beaverton?
Clackamas.
Clackamas. Okay. Yeah. No, it's just up 205.
Okay,
Zip it.
yeah, we're just up and down 205. Well,
I
let me
zip
know
it.
what you want to do. Okay,
Okay.
send me an
Yeah.
email.
All right.
No,
Yeah, I
over
zipped
there.
up and down Clackamas or out and back and down the 205 quite a bit.
You know where CarMax is?
I saw a car with a CarMax license plate cover today. No, I don't. Where's it at?
Just off 205 of the Milwaukee Expressway.
Okay, that's down by
And
that.
we're just, I'm just south of that intersection where CarMax is.
Okay. Oh yeah, now I know where it's at because I remember Kmart,
Oh, yeah.
and then I remember driving by CarMax because I drove that way to Milwaukee before. I used to go out there a bit more, but yeah, I remember. I know where CarMax is now. I've drove
I'm
by
just
it.
about 3 blocks south from there.
Okay, yeah. Now I know there. That's all that is. That's not too far at all. That's just 10
Hey, I'm
minutes.
going to check out here.
15 of them.
OPB has got a special cancer thing at 9 o'clock if anybody's interested.
Okay. Who is that?
OPB, Channel 10
Oh, okay. All right.
at 9.
No,
Catch
I
you
don't
guys
know.
later.
All righty. Thank you. What are you doing, Franklin? Did you get your stairwell painted?
Oh no,
Brian?
just bought the paint.
I was kind of envisioning you must have like a swing harness apparatus.
No, I just do it from a wheelchair. A
You
long
saw that?
pole.
What was that? Road Warrior?
Oh yeah. No, that's too elaborate for
It
me.
was pulley cabled all over the place. He had a swing harness. And I figured, well, that's how he's doing it. He's got the rig.
That would be cool.
So he's gonna get on this whole and envisioning a regular stair, from first level to second level, and then you just got your pulley system and harnesses, and
Yeah.
there you go. You got your rig.
You got quite an imagination there, Chris.
Yeah, I don't know.
I watched the movie.
Yeah.
The guy was swinging all over that when they were building their
It sure was.
big truck car or whatever tanker to get stuff out, and he was swinging all or whatever he was rigged up to work.
Hey, Warren, are you going to come to the meeting on Zoom?
Yes.
Oh, great. I still need to find somebody that'll do the tech talk, though.
So cut these off. Too long,
Pat said I should just assign it to somebody.
too far.
So, but what are you working on, Franklin, radio wise?
Radio wise, I've got a,
I'm sitting on your desk or bench or whatever you're looking at.
yeah, I'm working on my bench. I haven't got my bench finished yet. So,
Oh, I bought a little soldering workstation.
oh, yeah,
Yeah, it's
like a service mount one, a heat gun or what?
No, it's a little clip with radial arms.
Oh,
About
yeah, like
four
a
little
helping
arms and then-
hands.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like the
Like the-
you know, four hands or helping hands or whatever they're gonna call it. It's a koto.
I got my
Whatever.
my isolation transformer hooked up, and that's about all I've done this week.
That's something. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I ordered that. Ordered some Sawzall blades, 12-inch for pruning, and a demo 9-inch or 6-inch. And then
You get
ordered-
Diablos?
No, I'm got the.
Too stupid big.
I don't know what their brand. It starts with a T. They said they had a very lithium steel. Supposed to have been a little better, I guess.
Really?
I was cutting with it the other day, and I've cut some arborvitae, dead arborvitae, and some dead cherry. The cherry was fairly tough. Anyway, the blade is okay. I hit a nail before when I was cutting on some other blade. Of course, it just smokes it when you're cutting the wood, and somebody nailed the
And they have the right form.
with some kind of staple or
Isn't
tack
carbon
into your
the best ones to get?
limb.
All I think I have to do is cut those off.
Okay.
No, this
Not the
has
vinyl.
vanadium steel was harder than
It's the
carbon.
same one.
The vanadium was better than the carbon, they said.
Yeah. that's
Oh,
fine.
really? Valenium?
According to the reading. Vanadium, yeah. They say,
Is
I
that a
don't know.
bimetal kind of?
I'd have to-
Bimetal is cheapest, right?
I don't know. They said this steel is, vanadium is a different way of doing it, and
Oh, okay.
carbon was not as. This has a 2 times, lasts supposedly 2 times longer than carbon.
What kind of Sawzall do you have?
Milwaukee battery with a pretty good battery.
The 18
Couple
volt?
batteries. Pardon me?
18 volt?
You want to take that in case?
Yeah. No, I really like my,
Sorry.
and it's bad. It's got a pretty big batteries for them, the bigger size.
The 5 amp?
Really,
Five,
and again, it's
5
5.0.
amp. Yeah.
The 5.0 battery, the bigger. Not a. They got a 6.0, but they're
So now they have the fuel,
about $100
right?
battery. If you,
Isn't the fuel?
I've switched over from the cheapie because I took years to ever buy a battery operated like drills or anything.
Uh-huh.
And then Ryobi Bimart had 2 for, you can buy 2, the impact driver, you get the batteries, and you got the impact and the drill, you got a carry case, and you got the charger for $100. So I got into that. Well, anyway, this Milwaukee stuff I'm getting into now is just superior. So I have a fuel drill, 18 volt, and I've got a good impact driver that I've worked that sinking 3-inch screws for all, building a deck, and or repairing a deck, and it blows that Ryobi out of the water. I mean, it's just like, so I'm just switching over, and then once I've switched over, then that's where I'm pursuing more of the Milwaukee stuff. Just because it's just better stuff.
The Milwaukee fuel
Drawbacks,
stuff, right?
still, but yeah, that drill will twist the arm off if you turn onto it. The fuel, I mean, it's a brushless. That's why I guess that's the sell point. But yeah, it's got so much torque, it does it. But I'm just kind of compatible with the battery thing, because the batteries are kind of the. And then
Yeah, they're expensive.
Yeah, and so I just get into the, start getting my tools into the Milwaukee stuff, which I like it. So I've made good money off the Sawzall already. So I made good money off the cheap Ryobi one I had, you know, for trimming larger shrub bushes and cedar, whatever shrub, and zip through that stuff and make good money off of the. But once the batteries start going, it's with the Ryobi, it's not worth buying a battery because it's just too, the stuff is not as good and the batteries are high priced even with the Ryobi.
Well, they have two different lines too, just like Milwaukee though, right? They've got a cheaper line and then a more expensive XL or XTL or something like that line. Just like the Milwaukee Fuel and the Milwaukee regular 18 batteries, right?
Milwaukee regular is good. I have a Milwaukee regular impact driver, great, and I have the Milwaukee Sawzall, and it's great, and it's a regular one. So it's, I mean, it just, they're doing the job beyond what Ryobi, and I didn't steer towards DeWalt because we could go DeWalt too, I guess. But, so anyway, I just kind of got into them, pawn shop down the street initially, the Sawzall, because my Sawzall was, you know, Ryobi was pretty sloppy, and then once I got on this one, I'm like, no comparison.
Put those lines on there too.
That's cool.
So
I'm
just
gonna
have-
exit out, you guys.
Bye, Warren.
Yeah, me too. See you guys.
Bye, Mike. Thanks for showing up.
Well, I better
See you guys.
start my fried chicken dinner.
You better.
Thanks.
Got a fryer like mine. It'll be tomorrow before it's done.
No, I sent Franklin some pictures of my dinner last night.
Before or
And I-
after you ate
And I
it.
sent him a picture of a pizza I made the other night. So
We make our pizzas on the barbecue.
I've done that before too.
Bought a pizza stone and you're good.
Yeah, I make my pizza though. I don't buy it and cook it. I make it.
Oh yeah, we make ours too. And then we put it on the barbecue.
That's the way to do it.
That's right. And you know what? I don't have a measuring cup or a scale. If I want a sausage pizza, well, I have a sausage pizza. The cheese
Do it
will
by-
fall on the
All by
crust.
feel, huh?
Yeah. All right, guys, got company here. I'm gonna go ahead and sign out. See y'all on Saturday.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna start my chicken dinner.
Bye, Mark.
Hey, bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
I hope you had dinner, Franklin. It was more than a peanut butter and jelly.